Hello, good to have you here today. We shall be looking at verbs and verbal formations. Verbs and verbal formations. And the most critical question to ask at this point is, what is a verb? What is a verb? You may have heard this word before, you probably have an idea of what it means. So what is a verb? Very simple. A verb is a word used to describe an action, state, or occurrence. And it is usually a part of the predicate of a sentence. Most basically, a verb is a word that does something. In many cases, a verb is referred to as a doing word or an action word. So whenever you hear the word break, kick, take, etc. Whenever you hear a word that does something like go, when you say kick, it's an action. When you say blow, slap, jump, run, these are actions. And so they all fall under verbs. Are you following? So now, there are types of verbs. And we shall consider the first one. There are two basic types of verbs. We shall consider the first one, which is regular verbs. Regular verbs. These kinds of verbs take ed to form both the past and the past participle forms. Whenever you see a verb that when you convert to the past form only requires you to add ed, and also to convert that same past form to a past participle form, you only need to add ed, then you know it is a regular verb. And the examples are these. These are examples of regular verbs. You can see here, we have the word hate. To convert this hate to the past form, you only need to add d because it has an e already. So hate becomes hated to become past, and it also remains as hated to achieve its past participle form. Moving on, the word defend is in its present form. To convert defend to past tense, it is defended. You add ed. I defended my pride yesterday. Are you following? To then make this in past participle form, it is still defended. I had defended my pride yesterday before multitudes. So when a word only needs ed to become past and past participle, we say such a word is a regular verb. Moving on. Secondly, we have the irregular verbs. Irregular verbs. For irregular verbs, there are no specific forms to achieve the past or past participle forms. There are no specific nature. The words can change. They are unlike in irregular verbs where all you need to do is add ed and you have past and past participle. For the irregular verbs, those words can change dramatically and you wonder how come. Examples are the word go is present. To achieve the past form of go, it becomes went. And so you wonder, there's no G, there's no O in went. How did this come about? It is irregular. It is not normal. That's why it's called irregular verb. Go, went. I go to school every day. Is in its current form. I went to school yesterday. And then in past participle it becomes gone. Nkechi has gone home. Nkechi had gone home yesterday before you came. That is in the past participle form. Also, the word lie is present. When I say lie, I mean sleep. lie, not lie as in saying things that are not true, but lie, which means sleep. Lie is in its present form, and to achieve the past form, it becomes lay. Lay. And the past participle form is lain. Lain. I had lain on the bed yesterday before realizing that the bed was wet. Lain. And then wake also has as its past form woke, and also as its past participle form woken. But there's a confusion usually around this word woken. There's another word which people tend to use, which is waken. Yeah? So there's a conflict between waking and woken. And in archaic, ancient English, it used to be waked. But that no longer holds water. Waked has been struck. In contemporary modern English, you cannot say waked as past participle. You cannot say, I have waked up. It is going to be laughable in today's world. However, you can say, I have woken up. Yes. But some people tend to go with waken, which in modern textbook English does not hold water. It is wrong. Now moving on. Under irregular verbs also, we have some words which change when they become past, and also maintain the same form when they get to past participle. For example, we have the word sell as present form. It becomes sold as past form and remains sold as past participle form. Also, fight, present, fought is the past, and fought still is the past participle. On the other hand, we have some other words that do not change at all from the present state to the past state and then to the past participle state. And examples of such words are hit. This word remains the same as past. It remains the same as past participle. It means you cannot say heated or heated. I was heated yesterday by a moving bike. I was heated yesterday. You can't say so. Also, the word burst retains its normal state when it becomes past, and also maintains same for past participle. And lastly, we have words that when they become past, they change their forms, and when they get to past participle, they return to their initial state. Such words are come. The past form of come is came. And then the past participle form of come is come again. So I come to your house every day, or I will come to your house tomorrow. But when it becomes past, it is I came to your house yesterday. And then in past participle, it may become I had got to the venue. I had got to the venue early, only to realize that there was no show. There was no event. So, same thing for run. We have the word run as present, ran as past, and run still as past participle. Now, we shall look at some kinds of verbs called main verbs and auxiliary verbs. First of all, main verbs. Main verbs can also be called lexical verbs. Lexical verbs. And they can stand alone in a sentence. Main verbs don't need any assistance from other words to exist in a sentence. They can stand alone. For example, Nkechi goes home by herself. What is the verb here? Nkechi goes home by herself. The verb is goes. Goes is the verb. And if you look around this sentence, you won't see any word or words which are supporting goes, aside for the other words in the sentence. Huh? The soldier fired multiple shots. Fired is a verb on this sentence which stands on its own as the only verb. The man ran like a wounded dog. Ran is the verb. It stands on its own. On the other hand, auxiliary verbs is more like the opposite of main verbs. But you get the difference when we get to the examples. These are used as helping verbs to the main verbs. Remember that we said that in the case of the main verbs stand on their own. And for auxiliary, we are saying the verbs in this case are not the main verbs. They are used to assist the main verbs. Examples are, I will teach the boys a lesson. I will teach. Will teach. Will here is an auxiliary verb. Auxiliary, while teach is the main verb. You may want to say the verb of this sentence is teach. But teach is not standing on its own. There is will teach. Will teach. So the will there is an auxiliary verb. It's acting as a kind of verb which assists the main verb of teach. So in this kind of case, we refer to it as auxiliary verb. Other examples are, the boy has been coming to church frequently. The boy has been coming to church frequently. What is the main verb of this sentence? I know you know by now. It is coming. Coming is the main verb of this sentence. What are the other words that have assisted coming? What are the words that assist coming in this sentence? Those words are has been. Has been. So has been becomes the auxiliary verb. Coming is not standing alone. Coming as a verb is being assisted by these two auxiliary verbs. So this here can be said to be the verb of the sentence actually, but it is broken into two. Has been is the auxiliary verb, while coming is the main verb. Yeah. Moving on. The woman is cutting the meat. I know you can answer this yourself. So let me give you a moment to think of the answer in your mind. What is the auxiliary verb? The auxiliary verb is. Is cutting. Is the auxiliary verb, and cutting here is the main verb. Remember, an auxiliary verb assists the main verb in a sentence. A main verb is a verb that can stand on its own. But when that main verb has auxiliary verbs before it, then you know the second example is at play. Now, let us look at this important type or types of verbs. It is modal auxiliary verbs. What do we mean by modal auxiliary verbs? These verbs facilitate the main verb for suggesting potential, expectation, permission, ability, possibility, obligation, and request. What we mean is that verbs of this nature play these numerous roles that we have mentioned here. The roles of modal auxiliaries have been listed here: potential, expectation, permission, obligation, and the rest of them. Now let's go to examples of modal auxiliaries. First example is will. The word will works as a modal auxiliary. It precedes main verbs in numerous cases. And will is the present tense for would. So, I mean, if you've been using the word will wrongly, would rather, wrongly in the past, you've really got to change it. The word would is the past tense of will. If I say, if I want to use the, if I'm talking in present term or in futuristic term, I can say, I will soon eat. This is in present term. I will soon eat. We use the word will because the eating has not taken place yet. But then if I were to talk in the past, let's say I was told to eat yesterday and I said that I was going to eat shortly. This will become would. It will be, I told Tunde that I would soon eat. Here, will has changed to would because I already told him it's in the past. So, would is the past form of will. Be conscious of this when you speak. And will or would indicates request in a sentence. Whenever you hear, usually, but then there are other cases where they can be used differently. Can is a modal auxiliary as well, and the past tense of can is could. I could read since I was 5 years old. I could. I did not say I can read since I was 5. No, it will be wrong English. I can is in present form. But if you speak in the past, then could is the right modal auxiliary to use. And it expresses ability or capacity, as the definition indicates. Modal auxiliaries can also express ability. The modal auxiliary can or could express ability. Next is must, which can be have to. If you must do something, then you have to do that thing. Must is in present form, and if it must be reversed to past, then it will be had to. I had to go home yesterday early. I had to go home early yesterday. I had to. You cannot say, I must go home early yesterday. Then you are wrong. And must expresses obligation, as it is in our definition here. Obligation. It's a function of modal auxiliary. These are functions of the different modal auxiliaries. We have may, which in a lot of cases expresses permission. May. And the past tense is might. Might. Should is the last we have here, which is also ought to. You should do something means you ought to do something. The past tense of should remains as should and stays as ought to. And should expresses obligation just as must. But there are different instances where they get used. We shall discuss those instances in the later part of the class.